Hi, I have a craft with me today. I decided I wanted to use up a bunch of the offcuts of my tea-dyed paper and maybe make a little mini book. And that project, like so many of my projects, sort of exploded into a bigger project. So I'm just getting color on the paper today and thought I would chat with you while I was working on it. The pages are about 3 inches by 5 inches long, and they were okay as tea-dyed papers, but I hadn't played with any of my wet media for a while, so I decided to get out my Distress crayons, my Gelatos, my Marabou art crayons, and my Neocolor 2s. And I also have a China marker, which was not quite as successful as I had hoped, and Stabilo. And when I first started off, I thought, okay, I'm just going to, collage on the papers I already have. I was going to make just one little mini book. I was going to do some color on the pages. I was going to collage on them. And I was going to whip this thing together really fast. And as always, when Susan starts crafting, when Susan gets ideas, her brain explodes. It goes all over the place. And, it just sort of jumped into something else, and I decided, well, I got all these scraps. These little pages that I have right now are an old dictionary that's underneath what I'm working on, and I thought, well, I had those papers, and I had I think that's some parchment paper that I'm working on, and then I had the tea-dyed papers, and so I went in and I cut a whole bunch more papers and decided, let's just get color on, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, maybe 50 little pieces of paper and make multiple little books. So what I'm doing today is just, once I finally decide that the collage stuff is just not working, well, it's not that it wasn't working, it's just I wasn't going to collage all of those. I really wanted to get some color down. So I eventually just kind of put the collage stuff aside and decide to take off with making messes. And the thing that I want to say about this today is that it took me a long time to turn on the camera. I sat down with all my papers because I hadn't made messy kind of papers for a while. I hadn't really been doing any. I did my artist book, Nature's Whisper, a while back, and I do my lives every week, but I hadn't been doing any kind of really arts and crafts videos, and I was starting to feel very intimidated by myself. I wasn't doing anything, and that's not good. It's not a good way to work. Well, you don't work. You just you look at it all and you get scared and you say, I can't do what everybody else is doing. I don't remember how to do this. When I did it before, it stunk and I didn't like the way it came out. And I pretty much talked myself out of turning on the camera. And that's crazy because, I go live every week. So I'm not afraid of the camera. I go live every week and have 2 screens going on. So why was I suddenly afraid of doing something like this? And I don't know. I don't have the answer. So all I can say to those of you, and you hear me talk about this in my group, and we've talked about it before in the lives, is you just got to get brave. You just got to get brave and not think about comparing yourself to anybody else. I can compare myself to everybody out there in the YouTube world, everybody out there in the art world, everybody out there in the junk journal community. If you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you can compare all the time. And it's not going to do you any good. It's just going to do like it did to me. It's going to intimidate you, and you're not going to turn on the camera. You're not going to create something. And I have to tell you, once I finally got into this, I had so much fun. I really did. I had a blast. I'm still not quite sure what I'm going to do with all the papers now that, I've got to this first layer, but I'm really glad that I turned on the camera and I said, okay, I can't get the lighting right because of the shadows, and I can't get this right, and I can't get that right. And it's like, heck with it. I'm just turning on the camera and I'm going to play. These are the old dictionary pages I mentioned, and I decided to go ahead and glue something down in the center because when you fold them, it's so old that the paper was just cracking, and I knew I was going to put a lot of water on stuff, so I decided maybe I better, glue something down over it. However, I just use my glue stick, so in some cases you will see as I go on that the tissue paper that I glued down does decide to fall off because, the glue, not the hot glue, the glue stick doesn't stay for very long when it gets wet. But it's okay. It all came out in the end. And so I'm showing this, even though I'm going to speed some of this up because going through 50 little papers, putting color on them, it gets to be kind of monotonous, and you guys don't need to watch me, do all that kind of stuff. But it does give me a chance to talk to you and say, these pages are ugly. They go through a lot of stages of being really ugly, and they're not done yet. And several times while I was working on them, I was just ready just to throw in the whole towel and say, forget it. And I just kept going because really I think if it's still looking ugly to you, you're not done yet. And I knew that I was going to do multiple layers, but every time I do something like this, every time I forget that it has to go through all these layers. And I don't know, maybe I'll be doing this for another 50 years and I'll still be like that, most likely, just because I'm one of those insecure kind of people that doesn't believe that what she's doing has any value. Why does anybody want to watch me rip up little pieces of tissues and glue them onto something? And I decided it doesn't matter because, the people that come hang out with me to watch my videos, they're my friends. You're my friends in the box, my, internet friends, my friends all over the world. And we love and support one another, and we encourage one another when we're feeling, insecure and wondering how we're going to find the courage to, not even turn on the camera. I know a lot of you guys are just trying to get brave enough to share pictures of your work on Facebook or on Instagram. And I encourage you to do that. Come to my group if you're not already a member and join, because it's a safe place to share stuff, to practice. Practice your videos in there. If you don't want to put them on YouTube, practice making a video and put it in the group and ask us for some feedback. We'll help you out. We'll support you. And if you're over on Instagram and you're looking at the thousands and thousands of likes and views that somebody has on their beautiful art, I heard this tip the other day and I thought it was smart, and we should do it more often. Pick somebody that you really admire on Instagram and page down, spend some time and page all the way down to the very first pictures they were posting. Chances are it probably wasn't the best art. It probably wasn't absolutely amazing art. But what you're looking at right now is how they have evolved as an artist. And that's something we've got to remember, is that it all takes time. I am trying to, I'm looking at the screen here and I'm trying to practice mark making. And I am not confident in mark making. I'm going to do a whole lot more of that. But I am going to practice it, and you will see a lot of really awkward marks happening on there. And it's okay, because if I decide I don't like them when I get to the final stages, I can, collage over it, put some gesso over it. And I don't know if I had China marker or charcoal. I think it was charcoal. And then my Neocolor 2s. And what I love about the Neocolor 2s is they blend so nicely. So I'm just dipping it in the water and spreading it around, and then it's, moving the charcoal around a little bit, which is really nice. The charcoal ended up working out a lot better for me than the China marker or the Stabilo in this situation. In other situations, they work really well. Sometimes I don't get the marks spread out the way I want to, and they look really stark, and that's okay too. That's one of my distress crayons. That's a Marabou art crayon. The water's dirty. I don't care. You know how they say, like, if you're not careful, you mix all your colors, you're going to get mud. I'm okay with mud. I love it when I make mud. And I don't mean just the mud outside after it rains, because we don't get that much of it here in California. But I love it when I get muddy papers, because mud is what we need to grow, right? We need the water. We need the mud. It's going to grow. There's some really ugly marks that are not going to go anywhere at all. It's just going to stay kind of dark under there, but it's okay. I'm already thinking, while I'm working on these, I'm thinking, okay, the idea is just to get color down on the paper, so that, because I'm not going to make this a writing journal. This is small. These are, 3 inches tall by 5 inches wide. So when you fold it in half, that's going to be 3 by 2.5. That's going to be a little journal. And yes, some people like to write little, but I just wanted to make a bunch of small books. They can be projects that I, have on hand, and I can tuck them into something else. They could be giveaways, they could be racks, whatever. I just wanted to get some color on some paper, make some signatures, put them into little books. Then I started, like always, my ideas are going, my brain is going 900 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, ooh, I could make them all accordion books. Ooh, I could make this just one giant accordion book. Ooh, I could make each one with a different kind of cover. I think I decided there's going to be 7 books with 7 pages, which folded in half, gives you 7 times 4, which is 28. But, they're not done yet, so that could change. See, I just used the paper, music paper, to wipe up the wet stuff. That just got some more marks on the page. Really, getting down the first layer. I mean, this is the scariest part, I think, for any artist. It's the blank page. It's like what would happen when I was writing and I had I had to start a new book. I had to start a new poem and I didn't know where to start. Just make a mess. I took that light page and look how dark it gets. But you know what? If I don't want it that dark, I can put some gesso over it. I'm using packing paper here. So I've got packing paper, I've got some old dictionary pages, I've got some old book text pages, and I think that was it. And then some coffee dyed papers. There might be something else in there. And then there was some tissue paper that I had glued 2 sheets of tissue paper together to make it a little bit stronger, and that worked out really nicely. They got some good color on it. And all of this is water-based media, which means if I'm going to do anything else over the top of these, it's going to run. So I'm going to have to seal them before I go on to the next layers. And that actually has a really nice effect, which I will tell you about as we get towards the end. So what's your favorite way to put color on paper? I love using the jelly plate, but I didn't even want to get out my paints. I hadn't done anything with my fingers for a while. And, there's just something about smearing the color around with your finger that feels so good. It just feels so good. Now the charcoal is wonderful, it's yummy, but that is what made a lot of the pages really dark. And again, like I said, I'm going to be okay with that because they're not done yet. I have no idea. Maybe I'll keep them all paper, maybe I'll add fabric, maybe I'll add paint. They could come out when I'm doing, jelly printing. I don't know. It's hard to create without a plan. And yet that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is just create without a plan, because then I think too much. If I start to plan, I start to think out every single step of the way, and that it stops me. It stops me from wanting to create. And I stopped. I will tell you, while I was working on these, I stopped multiple times and walked away because I thought, oh, I am wasting my time. I am wasting color because they're blah. But by the time I got done with both sides of them and then sealing them, I'd changed my mind. So do you have a hard time starting on a blank page? Do you have a hard time just sitting down and starting something new? Even picking up a project that has been, left neglected for a year is easier for me than starting something brand new. Now see, I could have just stopped right there. See how cool that looked? Just with, sopping up the wet stuff. It's almost like a watercolor. I do love my Neocolors. This is a classic Susan Ramble. Have you noticed? All over the place. That's what happens with the voiceovers. But I figured if I stopped and thought about what I wanted to say and made little bullet points and all that, like technical stuff that you're supposed to do when you're making a video, I wouldn't get this thing done. And I was going to hold off and not post this until, like after my live this week. I thought, no, if I can get this voiceover done, I'll go ahead and upload it and post it today, which is Monday. And then maybe after my live on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll have another one. I'll make some more progress on the books. It's just so hard being a creative person sometimes because we have all these voices in our heads and they just, they create so much hassle. That's the tissue paper I'm working on there, and decided to try and accentuate the ridges, and I liked the way that worked. And I loved the Marabou art crayons in metallic. They really added a lot of sparkle to the pages. But yeah, all the voices in our head, and we just listen to them, and we let them take control. And for some of us, it's voices from our past. From some of us, it's voices from, teachers or family members that, don't understand what it is we're doing, don't understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I wish there was an easy answer. I know so many people that struggle with this. I'm just scribbling on my plastic mat now and getting it wet so I can do some more smearing. And if you're one of those people that doesn't have this kind of a struggle, hallelujah and lucky for you. I am happy. I don't want anybody else to have to deal with this sort of a stuff that I deal with. I think about how much more productive I could be if I didn't let myself get, sucked into the worry about what somebody was going to think about something. And I know I'm a broken record, right? Because I talk about this all the time, but it's because that's what's going on in my head all the time. I mean, really, it's crowded in there and it's noisy in there, and I don't want it to be like that anymore. And I think I'm doing better. Most of the time, I think I'm doing better. But this time, like I said, trying to sit down to work and realizing that, I didn't even want to turn on the camera because I was afraid it was all going to be garbage. And then I posted, the pictures on Instagram and on Facebook, and people were liking them. And I'm like, whoa, okay, so maybe we're not the best judge of our own work. You ever think about that? Mind blown, right? I mean, maybe I'm not the one that should be judging my work. Maybe my work shouldn't be judged. Maybe my work should just be enjoyed in the process, right? I say that a lot too, and I say it a lot so that I can start to make it click in my head. Just enjoy the process, Susan. There's so much to enjoy about making art, making messes. Isn't this just like making finger painting when you're a kid, right? Making mud pies out in the rain? It felt so good, and I didn't worry about whether they were going to stink or not, because it's packing paper, it's offcuts from tea-dyed paper that I put into journals, it's old music sheets, which I have tons of. It wasn't precious material tinged with gold. However, I could tinge the pages with gold. So don't be so precious with your materials that you're afraid to work, and don't be so precious with sharing your work with the world. We want to see everyday people doing ordinary work because it lets us know that we can be everyday people doing ordinary work and share it. And we can all be inspired to do the same sort of thing, right? Not everything we create is going to be a masterpiece that goes into a gallery. My stuff's not going to go in a gallery, and I'm okay with that. I have more fun doing it like this. I've heard so many creative people say they had so much more fun when they stopped before they started thinking about how they were going to monetize something, how they were going to get famous, how they were going to get on the bestseller list, how they were going to have a hit record. They were having a whole lot more fun before they got to that point. I just want to have fun. I just want to do the things that I enjoy doing, which is making messes and chatting with people here, on the internet. I just want to do the things I love doing with my creative spirit and make it a safe place for other people to do the same thing. Because life is too short to spend every day doing the things that make us miserable, right? A lot of people have to go in and work a day job. They have to do something that, is going to pay the bills. And I know I'm lucky. I'm lucky in what I get to do every day. So, if you've got some kind of a release that you can go home and do after you do your other work, do it. Embrace it. And then share it with the rest of us so we can cheer you on. Because we all need to be inspired. Boy, my hands were so dirty by the time I got to the end of this. So yeah, it's a ramble kind of talk, and I'm not going to even go back through and edit any of this. I know there was a beep that went off, and I'm just going to let it go because the important thing is that I get it done and I get it posted. Yeah, towards the end, can you tell I'm getting kind of tired, and I just want to get color down. And I went through and I did both sides of the papers and let them dry overnight. And in the morning, I was surprised that, I didn't think they were quite as bad as I thought they had been at first. I was thinking I was going to really hate them when I got up in the morning and feel like I just wasted the day. But even if I got up in the morning and I hated every single one of the pages, so what? Right? I didn't use that many materials. I didn't use anything precious, and it's okay because the joy is in the process. So here they are, all done, at least on this layer. And what I did after I got the color on both sides is I sealed them with matte medium. You could probably use Mod Podge, but I don't know how Mod Podge works on pages with them sticking together. I don't use Mod Podge, so I can't help you there. And, I got some nice variety. I've got the book text, I've got the packing paper, I've got music paper, I've got some tea-dyed paper, I've got the old dictionary pages, and I forgot what else that is. Maybe that's just some more tea-dyed paper. Oh, the tissue paper. And I think it's going to be fun to see what happens next. So let me know your favorite way to get color on the page, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.